They called them les enfants de la honte, the children of shame. Between 1908 and 1960, somewhere between 15,000 and 20,000 mixed-race children vanished from the Belgian Congo. They were torn from their African mothers' arms by colonial authorities who documented every transaction with bureaucratic precision. The Belgian government kept these records sealed for decades, hidden in basement archives in Brussels, stamped classified until 2017. What happened to those children was not a secret kept by whispers or rumors. It was a secret kept by filing cabinets, stamped documents, and official policies written in careful French cursive. The mothers who searched for their stolen children were told the same thing again and again: it is for their own good. But whose good, exactly? What makes this story particularly chilling is that it was never hidden in the shadows of history. It was written down, approved by committees, and executed with the same efficiency Belgium used to extract rubber, copper, cobalt, and uranium from Congolese soil. This was not the work of a few rogue individuals. It was a systemic, institutionalized program of child removal designed to maintain a fragile colonial order at the expense of human dignity and the most fundamental of human bonds. The meticulousness of the record-keeping, the cold, detached language of decrees, and the unwavering conviction of those who implemented them reveal a horror far more insidious than overt violence. It was a violence of erasure, cruelty cloaked in the language of charity and progress. Elizabethville, now known as Lubumbashi, sprawled across the copper-rich Katanga province like a European fantasy dropped into the African savanna. By 1923 it had become the colonial jewel of the Belgian Congo. Wide boulevards lined with jacaranda trees imported from South America cut through the red dust. Administrative buildings rose with an arrogance that assumed permanence, boasting tiled interiors and grand facades. This city was built on Congolese labor, designed to serve the Belgian Crown and Union Minière du Katanga, the powerful mining conglomerate extracting vast mineral wealth from the earth. The city was divided with surgical precision. The European quarter occupied higher ground, where the breeze was cooler and the air less thick with mine dust. Manicured gardens, tennis courts, and social clubs formed an island of comfort. Below, sprawled across the lowlands, lay the site indigene, a maze of unpaved streets, mud brick houses, and crowded markets. Invisible but impenetrable barriers of race and power governed every movement. At the apex of the colonial hierarchy sat Belgian administrators, often young men sent from Brussels on contracts promising adventure and advancement. Below them were territorial agents, enforcing labor quotas, collecting taxes, and maintaining order with violence. Scattered throughout the system were Evolus, educated Africans who spoke French, wore European clothes, and occupied a dangerous middle ground. Useful, but never equal. Marie-Therese Kawena was one of them. At 19, the daughter of a Luba chief educated at a Catholic mission school, she believed learning would open doors. Instead, it led her to the home of Albert de Samps, a mining engineer who arrived in Elizabethville with ambitions larger than his position. Marie-Therese scrubbed floors, prepared meals, and tried to remain invisible. In colonial households, invisibility was impossible. Young African women existed under constant scrutiny, their bodies considered both inferior and available. Albert de Samps barely acknowledged her humanity. His wife, Marguerite, ruled the household with icy vigilance, determined to preserve racial boundaries. By March 1924, Marie-Therese was pregnant. Marguerite noticed first. Her reaction was not shock but fury, not at her husband, but at the African woman whose pregnancy created a logistical problem. Belgian men impregnating African servants was an open secret. The problem was not the act, but the child. Mixed-race children, officially classified as metis, disrupted the colonial order. They were living evidence that racial boundaries were artificial. They complicated inheritance, paternity, and hierarchy. To a regime obsessed with control, ambiguity was intolerable. The solution was bureaucratic: removal, relocation, re-education. Children would be taken from their mothers and placed in Catholic missions. Fathers were absolved. Mothers were paid small sums and told their children would have better lives. Marie-Therese gave birth on November 3, 1924, in the native hospital. She named her daughter Celeste. For 3 months she hid her, nursing her in darkness, whispering lullabies, trying to memorize her face. But surveillance was constant. In February 1925, 3 men came, a priest, a territorial agent, and a Congolese policeman. They carried papers. Celeste was classified under Colonial Decree 1523. The words meant nothing to Marie-Therese, but the gesture toward her baby meant everything. She ran. She was caught. The sound she made when Celeste was taken was not quite a scream, it was something deeper, something broken forever. They paid her 200 francs. A receipt was signed with an X. The transaction took 15 minutes. The mission of St. Joseph sat 15 kilometers outside the city, isolated by dirt roads. By 1925 it housed 43 Metis children. They were renamed. Birthplaces rewritten. Languages forbidden. African memory punished. Mothers were said to have given them up willingly. Marie-Therese walked to the mission every Sunday. Balanced on a termite mound, she watched children play, searching for a face she could no longer recognize. Other mothers stood beside her. Their grief became a silent ritual. The program expanded. By the 1930s, children were transferred to Belgium under the Metis repatriation program. Father Antoine Dubois, a young priest uneasy with the system, began keeping private records. He noticed children disappearing, always the lightest skinned. Files listed placements, but no details followed. In 1937, Marie-Therese learned the truth. Celeste had been sent to Belgium at age 7. Her Congolese identity erased. Classified as suitable for European placement due to toggle minimal African features. Her birth certificate rewritten. She had been whitened. Can I get her back? Marie-Therese asked. No, came the answer. Legally, Celeste no longer existed. Instead, Marie-Therese documented. She collected testimonies. 60 cases by 1938. Hundreds more unknown. Dubois added his ledger. Together, they exposed a system. They sent evidence to Belgium. A journalist prepared an exposé. The state intervened. The story was buried. Dubois was transferred. Records vanished. Vermeer was expelled. Marie-Therese remained. The program continued through war and into the 1950s. By independence in 1960, up to 20,000 children had been removed. The missions closed. Many children never learned the truth. Marie-Therese died in 1973, never seeing Celeste again. Her notebook survived. In 2017, Belgium acknowledged the program. In 2019, an apology was issued. But apologies do not return stolen children. They do not repair broken bonds. The Métis program was not hidden. It was legal. Documented. Approved. The greatest horror is not that it happened, but that it was done in daylight, with paperwork, with certainty, with the belief that it was right. What do you think of this story? Do you believe everything was revealed? Leave your comment below. If you enjoyed this tale and want more horror stories like this, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share with someone who loves mysteries. See you in the next.